still I'm coming home real soon. My mind is running. I always thinking about going back to Cali. Going.
I'm here with Sam Cohen of UCSB Baseball. Tell us about the opening ceremony of the College World Series. What was the crowd and the atmosphere like?
Opening ceremony was unbelievable. It was probably one of the coolest things I've done in my life. You know, walking downtown Omaha, seeing thousands of fans lined up across the street, up in bars, up on rooftops, and it was just kind of surreal. Like at that moment, it really hit me like, wow, we're in Omaha. Like, and it was kind of cool that the city usually adopts a team, and they adopted us that year, and it was just cool seeing everybody supporting us.
Did you have any expectations going into the regionals about how your team would do?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't finish the year as strong as we would have liked to, so we kind of had a chip on our shoulder going into the postseason, and we knew that we were kind of going to be the underdogs from the start, and so we just played like we didn't care at that point. We were kind of playing loose, and going into the regional at Vanderbilt, we kind of wanted to prove something.
Do you have any funny moments from the playoff run?
I mean, I don't really have any funny stories, but the most memorable parts for me were like the plane flights. We got chartered around, so that was really cool, being on private planes. I had my own row, and we could do whatever we want on a big 757 all to ourselves.
Heading out on this road trip, you probably didn't expect to be away from home so long. Were there any unexpected challenges that came up?
Yeah, so we were expecting to go home for finals after our first regional, and after we won it, we found out that we couldn't go home. So we had finals in Louisville. I took my last final the day before our last game, so I was in study mode pretty much throughout up until that last game in Louisville. That was one of the struggles, and I got pretty sick in Omaha. Got food poisoning from some of the bad roast beef that they gave us, and so I was kind of thrown up at practice, and that was hard, definitely.
Can you describe the role that Coach Checkitz and the entire coaching staff has had in getting your team to this moment? The
coaching staff and Checks, they kind of set the tone in practice. We practice, you practice how you play, but like we practice at such a high level that the game doesn't feel like too big of a transition. So like we practice fast in practice because in the game it's going to be fast. So it kind of slows itself down in the game because we practice at game speed. So I'd say practice is probably the biggest part of what the coaches had done for us and making it as game-like as possible.
You're at the Super Regionals in Louisville, facing Louisville. The team that's picked win the whole thing. It's the bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, 2 outs, and you're down by 3. You're a true freshman facing one of the best pitchers in the country. Walk us through that at-bat.
I was in the bullpen, and I was kind of talking to our bullpen coach, and I was like, I saw Birdie come in, who was the closer, and I was like, man, I really want to face this guy. I want to see what 102 looks like. So, I was just talking. I was like, yeah, I want to face him. We were looking at the scoreboard after every pitch. And then, our bullpen coach gets the call from Chex. He's like, hey, Sam's going to go hit. So, I go back. I go into the dugout. I kind of I get all my stuff. Just pacing back and forth in the dugout, waiting for him to put me on deck. And, Billy gets up there, who was hitting right before me, and Josh went on deck. I didn't go on deck originally. And so I was kind of nervous. I was like, okay, is he going to put me in or, what's going to happen? And then, Billy gets down 2-0, and then Chex is like, all right, go on deck. So I went on deck with 2 pitches already been thrown to the previous batter. And at that point, the nerves kind of settled in. I was like, all right, this is getting real. And, I caught myself. I kind of looked around the stadium just seeing how many people were there. And at that point, I was like, all right, I really need to get myself in check. I was sitting fastball. I was like, there's no way this guy's going to throw me an off-speed pitch. Pinch hitting late in the game. And I get up there. I see the first pitch, 101 on the gun, up and away. And I was like, all right, I got to start swinging soon. So, the next pitch, I fouled off. I felt like I barreled it, but I fouled it off, way behind me, and I was pretty late on it. So, I was like, all right, I got to make an adjustment. I got to really start earlier. And then he paints one on the outside corner, and I was like, this isn't good. I thought to myself, I was like, oh no, 2 strikes. And then so I step out of the box. I look over at my hitting coach, Neil Walton, and I was like, I just look at him. He just kind of gives me, he's like, settle down, calm down. I was like, all right. So I take a deep breath. I step back in, and I'm still sitting dead red fastball. And, I started as early as I possibly could without messing up my timing. And it was not a fastball. I realized I saw it was a changeup, and it kind of started up at my belt. And it just dropped right in the lower part of the strike zone, and I threw my barrel at it and connected. And right when I hit it, I was like, all right, that came off pretty good, and I booked it out of the box. Right when I hit it, felt good off the bat. I was sprinting out of the box because if it wasn't going to go over the fence, I was the game-winning run, and I had to get to second. So I was hard out of the box, and I looked up, and I saw the right fielder like sprinting back. I was like, all right, I got to get going. And then I look at my first base coach, and he's like trotting towards me with his hand out. And I just looked at him. I was like, no way. I was like, no way that ball just went out. So right when he looked at me and stuck his hand out, right before I touched first, I was like, it went out. As I was rounding third, it still hadn't hit me. I totally blacked out. Was not aware of what was going on. And right when I hit third and see all my teammates at home plate, all reality kind of came back to me, and I was like, we're going to Omaha. And, I honestly was thinking about like jumping and going crazy and jumping into the dog pile, but I was like, I'm going to hurt myself. So I just ran in head first and kind of just curled up and was just, waiting for the beating.
I have never seen a more improbable ending than what we just saw.
It's a freshman pinch hitter again with 26 at-bats facing a closer taken in the first round. Santa Barbara was the third-place team in the Big West, the third-place team. And just an unbelievable job by these kids from UC Santa Barbara to come in here and hang with a team that could have won the national title.
Cohen, a freshman who had 1 home run all year against the elite closer in college baseball, and he turns on one.
One of my favorite memories from the entire series was seeing the photo of you and your mom super emotional after your hit. Tell us what her story was.
My mom, ever since I was growing up, she's always been nervous watching me play. Even in Little League, she was nervous. And then once I got to like the collegiate level, I mean, it was unbearable. So she didn't really come to a lot of games. She would follow every single one of them from home, or she came to the big series, like she came to the Fullerton series. But that was really the only series she came to before we went to Louisville. My dad was the one who always came to the games, not her. So it was unusual for her, and it was unusual for me to have her there. And she was there with my brother, and I kind of felt like, all right, I need to do something for her. Like if I was gonna get in, if I was gonna play, I gotta show up for her. Right before I come up to bat, my mom's in the stands with all the rest of the Gaucho fans, all 100 and whatever of them in the crowd of red, and she's watching the game, and she doesn't notice. She sees Billy go up, she sees Josh go on deck, so she knew that I wasn't gonna come in to hit. And then all of a sudden I come strolling out of the dugout, and she freaks out, panics. She panics, and she, runs out of the stadium. She couldn't watch, and so she was listening. She heard the first sound of the bat, which was my foul ball, and she said her heart stopped. She thought I hit it. She freaked out, but nothing happened. I fouled it off, and then she heard all of a sudden the entire crowd get really loud, and when you got to 2 strikes in Louisville, the entire crowd would start clapping. And that's when she started like sweating. She got really nervous. And then all of a sudden it got dead quiet. Like you could hear a pin drop. And so she got up, looks and sees me rounding first, and she started crying immediately. Started crying, ran towards the fence. My brother, who ran out of the stadium thinking the game was over, ran back into the stadium, had to get through security again, and he ran over, grabbed my mom. They ran over to the front of the fence, and we're just waiting at the front of the fence. And I found her after the dog pile. You know, I got up, and she was the first person I saw. And I ran straight over to her, high-fived her through the fence. I was like, "Did you see that? Did you see what just happened?" She didn't make any sense. She wasn't saying anything. She was just yelling and screaming and crying. So that was cool.
Moving into this season, what do we have to look forward to from the team?
This year, you know, our coaches did an unbelievable job of recruiting. We have a really strong class. You know, our lineup's going to be really deep everywhere. Our pitching is going to be really deep. I'm really excited for what's to come. You know, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with this year.
For tickets to see Sam and the rest of the Gauchos this season, visit ucsbgauchos.com or call 805-893-UCSB. From the UCSB Athletics Department, thank you for supporting Gaucho Baseball.